Hi, if you missed class, this video covers the mini lesson that we had today on Friday, November 9th, and we'll cover again on Monday, November 12th, on chain sentences. If you missed class today, make sure to watch the video again that we went through the previous class on how to catch up. The class notes are available right next to this video. Let's get started. You want to have page 121, which was a handout. If you want it before you get back to class, you can print it from our folder with all of our binder pages in it. Watch the video on what to do when you miss class to find it. Let's go through it. I'm going to presume that you have it in front of you now, and the way we start the lesson is for you to read the two columns that you see right before you. They are the same story or the same account of someone's observations as he was along the Flemish coast. The first sentence of each of these columns is the same. Your job is to decide which is the clearer paragraph, the left paragraph or the right paragraph. And if you think about it a little bit longer, why? So before going on with this video, please read both of these paragraphs here. Both start with the same sentence, on my last morning on the Flemish coast, and decide which one you think is clearer and why. So just pause the video and then pick back up on it after you've read them. Thank you. Okay, I assume you have read them. Which do you think is clearer? I hope you think that the second one is clearer than the first one. The right one is clearer than the left one. One problem with the left one immediately occurs. You see there in the second sentence of it, knocked about and indecipherable, but in the style and tradition of the early Middle Ages. As I'm reading along there, I'm wondering what in the world is he talking about? Is he talking about Flanders? Talking about Gothic carvings, or maybe the details of the Gothic carvings? I don't know. So my reader is struggling, if I were the person writing this, with something that would make him go, okay, now I get it. Okay, these carvings. Now, say it again. Well, someone shouldn't wade through an entire sentence without knowing how it connects with the one before it. Compare that with the second sentence of the second one, the one on the right. Was the carving old? We immediately know it's about the carving, and we immediately know we're going to delve into the age of it, right? So, as we go through it, we see what we will now call chain sentences. A chain sentence is basically a sentence that starts with something that occurred earlier in the paragraph. That's all it is. Something early in the sentence refers back to something earlier in the paragraph. For instance, was the carving old? Well, carving harkens back to carving here. It was certainly knocked about. The word it is a pronoun. We know it refers to carving because that's the only thing we've been talking about in the last previous sentence. So we have a very clear antecedent to that pronoun. The next sentence starts, the carving. Once again, we've had that earlier. The next sentence starts with sailors. Well, wait a minute. I don't remember seeing any sailors earlier. But there is this reference to people bending themselves to certain primary employments. When I see the word sailors next, I assume that refers to one kind of people bending themselves to certain primary employments. So it doesn't have to be the same word that you're looking for, or even a pronoun. It could be a specific aspect of a generalization, or it can be a synonym. And then the last sentence starts, these subjects. Well, we know now what these subjects are. They're the sailors, farm workers, women, referred to in the previous paragraph. So that sort of summarizes them. So there's always in the beginning of each of these sentences, some clear reference to something that happened earlier in the paragraph. All right. Then we read over this paragraph. This is a really essential paragraph. I'll read it with you. English sentences usually start with old information and end with new information. The old information in a sentence immediately reassures our readers that no matter where the sentence is heading, it's connected to something earlier in the paragraph. The old information in a sentence subject makes a sentence a chain sentence. A subject's old familiar content is a link that helps form the entire paragraph into a chain. A sentence's immediate chain connection with what preceded it creates continuity and keeps our readers from being confused. Right? Then we see an example here where I've circled the link in every chain sentence, and then I've pointed back to what preceded it. The first chain sentence, of course, is not going to be the first sentence. Chain sentences must be the second sentence because they always harken back to something earlier in the paragraph. Impossible for the first sentence to be a chain sentence. But here, the storm refers back to tempest. Here it's a synonym, right? Not the exact same word, but a synonym. I won't read the entire paragraph out loud. You can read it to yourself. The next sentence starts, Shakespeare's castaways. Well, I hadn't used the word castaways yet, but I've made it pretty clear that the ship was destroyed, the people survived, and their passengers and crews. So castaways is a nice summary of what's gone before, and it harkens back to passengers and crew. The next sentence, the actual castaways, same. Likewise, Shakespeare, we've heard about him before, so I circle Shakespeare and draw a line back to to my reference to Shakespeare that happened earlier. The earlier reference is always in a rectangle. The next sentence begins with the word Ferdinand. Well, that's the first time Ferdinand appeared, but it's clear that Ferdinand is a character in The Tempest, because it's likewise Shakespeare's character, and it says, the next sentence starts, Ferdinand, for instance, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, in writing The Tempest, well, we've had The Tempest before, right? So a couple things about these chain sentences to remember. One, they can refer to something anywhere in the paragraph. So when I have Shakespeare, that can be a reference not to just something in the first sentence, but something anywhere in the paragraph, just as long as it came earlier in the paragraph. And the other thing is, my links always appear early in the sentence. Yes, there may be some reference to something earlier that occurs late in a sentence, but that does not make it a chain sentence, because by that time you confuse the reader. If you've waited that long to reference something earlier in the paragraph, you've confused the reader. So it's fine that it's there, but it's just not helping the reader out much. So remember to look for things early in the sentence. Those are what you're going to circle in each case. Something in the subject, not in the predicate of the sentence. All right. Your job, what you have to turn in, is exercise 1. Try your hand at this. Circle the old content in each sentence, except the first one. Of course, in the following paragraph, put a rectangle around where the content appeared earlier. Draw an arrow from the circled content to that earlier content. And you can look at the Shakespeare example at the bottom of page 121. Use the indented paragraph above as a model. And then we'll be looking in conference for your chain sentences that you'll show in one of the paragraphs on your report. All right, that's it. Hope you have a great weekend. See you later.